Rock climbing has many rules, many things you can and cannot do, many do's and don'ts, if you will. Do, rock climb. That's fine. Don't, glue fake holds onto a rock to make a route easier. Do, have fun. Don't, fire a semi-automatic rifle at somebody while they're climbing to try and murder them. I feel like that one should be a given. Well, obvious or not, all of these things did happen in the tragic tale of one of rock climbing's most controversial figures, Gluey Louie. Louie's story begins in Southern California, where he began to make a name for himself as a route setter and a hold maker. Louie would go on to create Legacy Ascension, a company that designs and manufactures holds for climbing gyms. As a matter of fact, if you climb at the gym regularly, there's a good chance that you've climbed on one of Louie's holds before. So at this point, Louie is a well-respected member of the community. Not only was he a rock climber, but he also had a job and didn't live in a van. But Louie's influence didn't stop there, as over the years he began taking his love for route setting outdoors. Louie began cleaning, bolting, and establishing new routes all over Southern California. Eventually, Louie established so many routes that he began releasing guidebooks to showcase all the new rock climbing that Southern California had to offer. Fresno, Santa Monica, Riverside, and San Bernardino, Louie was everywhere. This man was basically Santa Claus, except instead of giving everybody gifts, he gave the world new rock climbing routes, and he didn't sneak into little kids' rooms at night, which is probably for the best. And at this point, Louie had become one of the most important figures in the American rock climbing community. And much like Santa Claus, people began to wonder how he possibly had the time to establish so many new routes. But that's when they discovered the method behind Louie's madness.
Dreamer Californication. Dreamer Californication.
California has a bit of a reputation for enhancing things, or as some people call it, being fake. Tired of being unsuccessful? Fake it, and just pretend that you are. Tired of watching movies about boring real-life events? Fake it, and watch 100 movies about the same 3 superheroes. Tired of your natural lips looking too thin? Fake it, and make them look like a prolapsed anus instead. And to Louie, outdoor rock climbing was no different. If the rock is too hard to climb, fake it, and turn it into a gym boulder instead. In Riverside, people began to notice that many of Louie's routes had holds drilled, chipped, and glued into place to make them more accessible. That's right, Louie was essentially giving the rocks fake tits. Louie had become the most successful plastic surgeon in Southern California, cosmetically enhancing dozens of routes across the area. And how did the rock climbing community react to this revelation? They didn't really care. You see, it's important to note that the main area that Louie was performing these route enhancements was the Riverside Quarry. And if you don't know what a quarry is, it's where people mine for shit. I think. I actually don't know what a quarry is either. So all of the rock in the quarry had already been irreparably altered by the miners before. Any route you were climbing on had already been shaped by pickaxes and dynamites and fucking chainsaws. I don't know anything about mining, clearly. So it seemed ridiculous for the community to be mad at Louie for altering the rock when it was already altered to begin with. I mean, if the 7 dwarves and that lazy bitch Snow White can do it, why can't Louie? The quarry was Louie's marble, where he could take his love for route setting to the great outdoors. Now, some climbers were still angry because Louie had allegedly altered many routes outside of the Riverside Quarry, but the only verification of this I could find was word of mouth on Reddit. That being said, this is still very likely true, as you'll see as the story progresses. So Louie became the man that everyone knew for chipping, drilling, and gluing holds all around Southern California, and thus he became known as Gluey Louie. Gluey Louie had become a legend in California climbing lore. He shot his glue all over the state of California, and the people welcomed it with open mouths. Because of Louie, Southern California now had a plethora of beautiful 5-star climbs, and climbers from all around the globe could travel to Southern California and bask in Louie's glue themselves. But then, with no warning, Louie packed his bags, bottled up his glue, and headed to Wyoming. But before we get into part 3 and the events that led to Louie's attempted murder, a quick word from this video's sponsor, Rungna. Are you a rock climber? Well, then you need rock climbing stuff. And what better place to get the best stuff for rock climbing than the Rungna online store? Rungna is known for making some of the most top-tier athletic apparel in human existence, specifically designed for rock climbing. Do you want a nice athletic shirt with the Church of Dynawology logo on it? They got it. They got pants, they got shorts, they got jackets, they got hoodies, they got hats, they got the best chalk in the world, brushes, tape, chalk buckets, Church of Dynawology, chalk buckets. But Runa isn't just for the boys, right? You Gluey Louies out there shooting your glue all over the gym. They got a women's collection too. So if you want to support the channel and get some fashionable new rock climbing gear, click the link in the description below, head to the Runa store, use code DINO, and get 15% off your entire order. Try out the new Boulder Heads tee, maybe the harness pants, or any other apparel that you fancy. And with that being said, let's find out what happened to Gluey Louie. In 2016, Gluey Louie moved to the small town of Ten Sleep, Wyoming. Eager to share his glue with the residents of Wyoming, Louie got to work. Over the next 3 years, Louie chipped, drilled, and glued his way across Ten Sleep Canyon, putting up dozens of manufactured routes, all in the hopes of including them in his new upcoming guidebook. On top of this, Louie opened a facility called the Ten Sleep Ranch, not to be confused with the Ram Ranch. The Rock Ranch would provide cabins, camping, and other amenities to rock climbers, as well as other visitors to the canyon. The Rock Ranch was Louie's olive branch to the residents of Ten Sleep, a symbol that Louie was part of the Ten Sleep community, and he was here to stay. But little did Louie know, a resistance was forming in Ten Sleep Canyon. Despite Louie's actions being done out of love, Louie had shot his love glue all over the residents of Ten Sleep, and they didn't like the taste. Climbers all over Ten Sleep began speaking out, calling for action to be taken against Louie. Online, climbers told their stories about Louie's impact on the canyon and irreparable damage he had caused, specifically in an area called Funky Town, where Louie had allegedly put up 27 manufactured routes. This crag is heavily manufactured. Nearly every route is drilled and glued, turned what was a rad, hard wall into, I'm not quite sure. I've never seen anything like it in 20 years of climbing. Heavily manufactured, didn't pull a single pocket that hadn't been drilled out. So much manufacturing in this area, bummer. Please do not climb on manufactured routes or you will be encouraging their creation and you will be endangering all of our access. Louie has been manufacturing routes in Ten Sleep for years, and I ignored it. It wasn't until he blew his glue all over my face that I finally opened my eyes to see what was happening. But by then, all I could see was glue. That one was me. But things would finally boil over when Louie released his new guidebook on Ten Sleep Canyon, and on the cover was the heavily manufactured Funky Town. The climbing community had had enough. The residents of Ten Sleep came together and wrote an open letter to the climbing community, calling out Louie for his actions. The letter was then published in Rock and Ice magazine for the whole world to see. Every climber around the globe knew what Louie was doing in Ten Sleep Canyon, and they were all calling for him to stop. And finally, Louie responded. In a Gripped magazine article about the incident, they say, when Anderson was confronted about his practices by a group of climbers from around the region in a meeting, he said he believed leaving difficult climbs for the next generation was bullshit, and that he believed every route should be 5 stars. He was clearly willing to go to extreme lengths of modification to create 5-star routes. He and another bolter made it clear that no one could tell them how to develop and that you do what you want, we do what we want. Louie didn't plan on stopping. And worse yet, he didn't care. The thing is, you either die as Louie Anderson, the rock climbing hero of Southern California, or you live long enough to see yourself become Gluey Louie. The following events are commonly referred to in the rock climbing community as the Battle for Ten Sleep. Now, normally I would say that calling this a battle would be a bit dramatic, but seeing as how there were literal night raids and attempted murder with a firearm, I'd say a battle is pretty accurate. The Axis powers, Gluey Louie and his cronies, the Allied forces, literally everybody else. With a power drill and a bottle of glue, Louie went right back to work, manufacturing routes all across the canyon, with no idea that the community was ready to strike back. Chop all his bolts. If he rebolts, chop them again. Hit him in the wallet, because the head and the heart don't seem effective targets for this guy after repeated warnings to stop. And that's exactly what they did. Under the cover of darkness, a heroic group of climbers sprung into action. While Louie slept soundly at Rock Ranch, our heroes got to work, finding any of Louie's routes they could and chopping the bolts. On the other side of the canyon, Bravo team set out with padlocks to make sure that the anchors on any of the remaining routes were inaccessible. In one foul swoop, the climbing community showed Louie that they meant business, and if Louie played with fire, he was gonna get burned. The next morning, Louie awoke to the aftermath. Over 30 of Louie's routes had been chopped or padlocked, making his efforts and his guidebook a complete sham. Louie wouldn't take this lying down. He got to work removing the padlocks and rebolting his roots in a defiant act to prove that he wouldn't stand down. Back on Reddit, climbers began sharing information on how to chop bolts, and more climbers joined the cause. It was all-out war, but for every bolt that was cut down, another rose in its place. And it seemed that the battle for 10 Sleep would rage on forever, as the money from Louie's guidebook, Ram Ranch, and his gym in California ensured that Louie could keep replacing the bolts just as fast as they chopped them. But the battle would soon come to an abrupt end. While Louie was out bolting a new route on the Bighorn Dolomite, someone attempted to end his life. Shots rang out in the canyon, and they were headed in Louie's direction. While Louie dangled helplessly from his rope, bullets smashed into the wall around him. 10 shots were fired in total, one for each sleep in the canyon. Jesse Bryant describes the aftermath in an article written for Sage magazine. I woke up to red and blue lights saturating the white dolomite walls that loom over the 10 Sleep Rock Ranch, the new rock climbers campground in the canyon just upstream of the town of 10 Sleep, Wyoming. I had been in the area for a few weeks, but this was the first time I'd seen any signs of law enforcement. The lights shut off as the cruiser rolled to the back of the new campground. The police report later said that 10 shots were fired while Rock Ranch's controversial founder, Louie Anderson, was dangling from a rope, bolting yet another route. The rock, Bighorn Dolomite, splintered like shrapnel around him. No bullets hit his body, just the skyscraper skeletons of the coral reefs that used to frequent this desert. Perhaps if he listened a little closer, as the bullets riddled the limestone around him, he would have heard them whisper, "You are not welcome here." I love how rock climbers are also hippy-dippy, like, peace and love, man. War is not in my voice. But then it's as soon as it's somebody they don't like, they're like, yeah, fucking kill him. Blow his fucking head off. I think we can all agree that this is too far, okay? I don't think that's a controversial opinion. What Louie was doing was annoying. What this person did is psychopathic. And the National Forest Service agreed. After everything that happened, they had had enough. In response to the unmanaged development and the manufacturing controversy, the Forest Service that same month shut down development of any new routes or trails, citing the Code of Federal Regulations that prohibits activity that damages federal property or makes unauthorized improvements to national forests. The agency also closed some climbing areas deemed to be dangerous due to manufacturing or bolt stripping. The battle was finally over, and it seemed that everybody lost. But just like every war, people have to move on. In the aftermath of these events, Louie finally spoke up. I tried very hard to listen and have had an open dialogue with everyone involved. These have caused me to change my stance entirely. I made this known to all the people involved last summer, and these tactics have not been used since. I also in no way am trying to discount what I have done. Regardless of what was done previously in the canyon, I have crossed lines when bolting some of my routes. I own this 100% and have paid for those choices, am now paying for them, and will no doubt pay more in the future for them. Funny how popping a few rounds off in somebody's direction changes their tone pretty quick. Since these events took place, not much has changed for Louie Anderson. He still lives in 10 Sleep and spends his days with the cowboys of Ram Ranch. But for now it seems that the era of Gluey Louie has ended. Louie is still active in the rock climbing community, making podcast appearances and showing up in the occasional YouTube video. And it seems that the climbing community has mostly forgiven Louie. Although his actions led to the destruction of route development in 10 Sleep Canyon, many believe that the death of 10 Sleep was also the death of Gluey Louie. Much like Jekyll and Hyde, the man we see before us now seems to be the Louie Anderson of old, a kind man who offers his expertise in route-setting seminars, gives advice on environmental issues, and works on improving diversity in the climbing community. It seems that Dr. Jekyll has returned, and Hyde has been locked away forever. And while many people have forgiven Louie, many people still hate him for destroying the future of 10 Sleep Canyon. But one thing that we can all agree on is that we got our padlocks ready, because you never know when Gluey Louie will strike again. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you want to support the channel, click the link in the description below and use code DINO to get 15% off anything you want in the Rungna store. I'll see you guys next time. Hey guys, I just wanted to jump in here at the end really quick to let you guys know this drama, everything that happened here is over 5 years old at this point. So I thought it would be important for me to point out that don't reach out to Louie, don't show up at the ranch, don't do anything stupid. We've had no issues on this channel before, so I'm not really too worried about it. I've had a lot of good interactions with the community so far. You guys have proven not to be, crazy people on the internet, most of my viewers, but I just wanted to reiterate that fact due to the things that have already happened to Louie and the way that people have already treated him in the past. Obviously unacceptable behavior. Don't threaten people online, okay? If you think you're tough, you think you're a tough guy, go become a fucking Navy SEAL. All right, don't threaten people on the internet. This is first and foremost a comedy channel. I just like making videos that I think are fun and funny. So if you guys liked the video, you thought it was fun and funny, then keep in theme with that by not becoming aggressive or violent or anything like that. Just laugh at it. It's a funny thing. It's over and done with. And by all accounts, Louie seems like a pretty chill, normal dude now. It's done. All right.